Hey YouTube, Kira Quality here, bringing you all my Cardfight Vanguard Maelstrom deck profile for post standard format, my glorious Maelstrom. This is the last deck profile for the decks from my glorious Justice, the first two being the Dimensional Robo and the Grand Blue Cocytus decks I've done. Maelstrom finally got around to it. Big shout out to my friend Nick for letting me use his Aquaforce deck for the profile. What's changed mostly about this deck is it's more of a focus on Maelstrom as a whole. When this deck was first released, and it kind of had a different sort of build you could use, focusing on Navel Gazer, and people were really divided on what build to go for, but they really did make it so you have to focus on Maelstrom for the main part of the deck, being the new Glory Maelstrom, focusing on having a Maelstrom in your soul to get added pressure effects against your opponent. It's a really interesting deck, so let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So to start off, for the grade 3s, I am running 4 the Blue Storm Dragon Maelstrom. On Vanguard, it has a once per turn counter +1, and all your front row units gets plus 3,000 until end of turn. It definitely does help with pressure against your opponent, especially since sometimes you'll be having, lone Aquaforce units fight against your opponent's units, and they could just be short some power to go up against them, since Excel markers usually have weaker power stats than if you're going up like against a force deck. So the plus 3,000 definitely does come in handy there. And it also has a Vanguard once per turn. When your rear guard's attack hits a Vanguard, if it is the third or fourth battle of that turn, discard 2 cards from your hand and stand this unit. So you have another pressure, and most of the time the guaranteed attacks that your opponent will defend against, since they have to block that third or fourth attack, since after the drive check you're given the 2 cards you need to obviously restand this unit for more pressure. Doesn't get any drive minuses either, so as long as that attack hits, you'll have some real pressure with this card, especially when you get your front triggers, and then just add up more and more power stats for all your units on the field, especially the ones on your Excel markers. And I'm also running 3 of the new Blue Storm Supreme Dragon Glory Maelstrom. On Vanguard, it is a once per turn counter +1 until end of turn. Your opponent cannot intercept and can only call up to 1 card from his or her hand to guard for each battle. If your soul has a card with Maelstrom in its card name, all of your front row units get plus 10,000 until end of turn. So with this, as long as you have your first Maelstrom, you'll get the second effect, which is mostly what you want to do, ride with this one first, and then use this one sort of like the cross ride Glory Maelstrom used to be. Having that power definitely does limit your opponent to what they can guard against. If you get trigger units, it's just an added bonus for what they can guard, and stopping the intercept is another true bonus for the fact that they can't really do much against you if they don't have that additional shield, because just to sometimes block that shield, they'll either need to calculate what attacks they're going to defend against, whether it be with like a heal trigger, or hopefully you don't have the bumped up trigger units for your opponent as well, because they won't have enough shields to go up against it with this card. I was debating putting 4 in the deck. I kind of wanted to test out the numbers just with having a consistent Maelstrom ride, and then having the card that'll guarantee a Maelstrom in the soul as well. You get the obvious effect of the guard restriction, but the plus 10 with your units definitely does help to limit your opponent and what they can block on your attacks. And to finish up the grade 3s, I was debating between running, Naval Gazer as an added backup. I decided to stick to 2 Storm Rider Diamantes just as an added rear guard assist for your grade 3s, since both of the Maelstroms rely on Vanguard effects only. With Diamantes, this one gets an additional plus 3 power when it attacks if it's the first battle of that turn on Vanguard or rear, and also on a rear once per turn when it attacks if it is the third battle of that turn or more. Counter +1, discard a card from your hand, and you can stand this unit, and it gets plus 3,000 until end of turn. So you just have the added power if you're short on rear guards for Diamantes as an added backup to go up against your opponent. If you wanted to bump it down to 1, you can try putting in the 4th Glory Maelstrom for that option, but I like the 4-3-2. It just really works well for consistency, plus Diamantes, if you do need to ride it, still gives you the Imaginary Gift Excel marker also. And that is it for the grade 3s. We'll now move on to the grade 2s. I run 4 Marine General of the Restless Tide Algos. Definitely one of your main grade 2s to go for in the deck. When it attacks, if it is the second battle of that turn or more, Counter Blast 1, Soul Blast 1, and stand one of your rear guards. So just having that pressure early game on the Vanguard circle definitely does come in handy. And when it attacks, if it is the first battle of that turn, Counter Blast 1 and stand this unit. So you'll hit the numbers for your restand as well. Just having Algos to look forward to. And we even have search options in the deck as well to get this card out into your hand to use early game as well, because definitely wanting this card as your main ride target is the best thing you can go for, since all of our other Aquaforce grade 2s solely focus on rear guard effects to go off most of the time. And then for added support for the grade 2s, I am running 4 Tidal Assaults. I only have the 2, sadly, so I put 2 of the Blue Wings of Great Cause Phalios into the deck as well. I've been considering making a budget version next of the Blue Wings, just because there's a lot of support for them in this set as well. Sort of like a backup deck, like I said, for the Aquaforce players. But with Tidal Assault, when it attacks, you Soul Blast 1, stand this unit, and if it's the second battle of that turn or more, it gets minus 5,000 until end of turn. So it's just a once per turn, but more and more pressure to get those numbers going against your opponent. But with the power boosts you can do with Glory Maelstrom, just giving you the +10, and then also having the chance to get the front trigger, can really make this a true powerhouse in the deck, regardless of the minus 5,000 power. And I am also running 4 Coral Assaults. This one was actually impossible for me to find. I am sticking in the Metal Cut Sailor just as an added backup until you get more Coral Assaults. Then you can just replace them as you go along. With this one, during the battle attack, if 4 or more of your other units are rest, it gets plus 15,000 power. Now this, with Glory Maelstrom's pressure, your opponent really won't have any luck blocking this attack. With the +10, another trigger is an add bonus. At the end of turn, if the total number of attacks this turn is 4 or more, you put it into the soul and draw a card. So it gives you more soul power for a lot of your other cards you run in the deck, like Tidal Assault. So just having that option for this card for the draw power, and then also protecting against your opponent's units that may retire this card, definitely does help as well in the deck. And that is it for the grade 2s. We'll now move on to the grade 1s. I run 4 Storm Rider Nicolos. With this one, I'm putting in the Battle Siren Viviana, just helping out my buddy Nick until we can get the rest of his deck going together. For sure, we didn't actually have access to a lot of the My Glorious Justice. I was calling the pack My Glorious Maelstrom for a second, but I'm making do with what we can in the set. But you definitely need to run 4 Storm Rider Nicolos. With this one, Vanguard or rear, when placed, look at 7 cards from the top of your deck, reveal up to 1 Marine General of the Restless Tides Algos from among them, and put it into your hand. Shuffle your deck, and this unit gets plus 3,000 until end of turn. This is your search card for Algos. If you ride this card, it's basically like you're just making way to have Algos in your hand, just with that consistency. And the fact that you have 2 in your hand, you can at least hopefully guarantee that you'll get an Algos. If you miss it with the first one, then just call the second one to rear, get that search, and then you'll have that grade 2 setup in your hand, because like I said, you want Algos in your hand. It's the perfect setup for your grade 2. Giving you that restand power alone definitely does help and come in handy. And I also run 4 Wheel Assaults. With this one, at the end of the battle, it boosted. Choose 2 of your rear guards, and you may exchange their positions. It just gives you more and more options with your Imaginary Gift Excel circles also in the deck. And when rode upon, you can Counter Blast 1, draw a card, and call a card from your hand to rear. So you basically have the options for plenty of good ride targets with these cards, whether it be Storm Rider, Nicolos, or if you go for the Wheel Assault, giving you that draw consistency, which is what I like that they're doing with a lot of other decks, just to help fight against the Imaginary Gift Force decks, giving you draw consistency and just options to call more rear guards since you need those boosts against those cards. But the switch definitely does help, like I said, giving you the added bonus for the Excel circles on the field. And I also run 2 Light Signals Penguin Soldier. On rear, you rest this unit, and one of your units in the same column as this gets plus 5,000 until end of turn. And when your other unit attacks, if it's the 4th battle of that turn, you retire this unit and then countercharge 1. So you just have the options for giving your units that additional power, but also just having the option of when it's the 4th battle turn or more to retire this unit to give you the counter charge, which definitely can come in handy with some of your other cards in the deck, since Glory Maelstrom and Maelstrom do take up a good amount of counterblasts in the deck if you keep consistently using their effects to go up against your opponent. And then I also run 2 Tier Knight Theo, just to finish off the grade 1s. When it attacks or the attack it boosted hits a Vanguard, if it is the second battle that turn or more, one of your units gets plus 8,000 until end of turn. So you just have the options for the power boosts with Light Signals Penguin Soldier or Tier Knight Theo for that additional boost with your trigger units, and then just having the options with your other cards in the deck as well to get big numbers against your opponent. That pressure, along with, I've said it plenty of times in this video, Glory Maelstrom being your main go-to card, is the main reason that you focus on with the Maelstrom deck now, being a very vital card for your plays. So I just like to run the 2 and 2 as that added option for the boost and the attacks as well, if you go for multiple attacks, especially with Algos as your grade 2. And then that is it for the grade 1s. Moving on for the grade 0s, your starter, Office Cadet Eric. I like running this one, just kind of gives me the feel for the Maelstrom deck before having all the different Marine generals in the deck. And I decided to go for the Rainbow lineup for the trigger unit, so I'm running 4 of the new Blue Storm Marine General Despina for the critical trigger. Just having a critical option definitely does help and come in handy if you have a true powerhouse on the field for what you want to give the trigger unit power to. And I also run 4 Dolphin Soldier of High Speed Raids for the front trigger. Regardless, you don't really need any specific triggers for the names, but like I said, I liked running 4 of each trigger in the deck just so you have the pressure with the front triggers along with Glory Maelstrom's plus 10,000 power. The way to finish off your opponent if they're at 4 damage with your critical trigger. And then just for the rest of the deck to finish off, I run 4 Emerald Shield Pascal for the draw trigger. Perfect Guard, Sentinel, basic option there. You don't really want to take up your grade 1 count in any of this deck, so I like to stick to this trigger. And 4 Medical Officer of the Rainbow Elixir, since it is the only heal trigger in the deck, of course. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoy. Like I said, if you want, I might focus on a budget version of the deck. If you guys want to see, maybe we'll see a kind of Blue Wing deck with some of that support for a more budget version. If you do want to see that, just comment down below. But until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And Kira Qualia out.